What do you got, Coach? 3 things that all coaches need. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore of coaches?
New York or the Aces? Definitely going with the Aces.
All right, 4th down. Who has the tougher job, coaches or officials? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? But Texas is different. Episode 25 of the Coaches Co-op. My name is Michael Prejean. Everybody knows me as Coach Pete. Each week, we team up with coaches across the country to break down the wins, the lessons, and everything in between. This week, I'm excited about teaming up with Dr. Siobhan Kiser. Dr. Kiser serves as the Assistant Athletic Director for Denton ISD, where she oversees all secondary athletic programs and coaching staffs. She is a native of. She was a 3-sport athlete in high school before earning a full athletic scholarship to the Southern University and Agricultural and Mechanical College, where she was a standout middle blocker on the volleyball team. She is a proud first-gen graduate who holds a bachelor's in Mass Comm, a master's in sports management from the University of Florida, and a doctorate in education from North Central University. With over 20 years of experience in education-based athletics, Dr. Kiser has worn many hats. Amongst them, head volleyball coach, head track coach, English teacher, assistant campus athletic coordinator. She was inducted into the Southern University Sports Hall of Fame in 2023 and was recently recognized as one of the 10 most influential women in Texas high school football, which means she's one of the 10 most influential women in high school football in the nation, people. She is also a proud wife and mom of 3 student athletes. Y'all put your hands together and welcome Dr. Siobhan Kiser. How are you this evening, young lady?
I'm excellent. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
I'm happy to have you here. I am excited about listening to you, hearing from you. I know the life lessons will be dropped. I know the gems will be deposited in this episode. But we're going to do this. This is the first thing we're going to do, Dr. Kiser. Yes. This segment is called Talk That Talk. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I want you to do in this segment is I want you to talk about all of the great things that are going on in Denton ISD, in your athletic programs, in your community, etc. So Dr. Siobhan Kiser, talk.
Yes, sir. Well, we're proud of the student athlete first culture that we're building here in Denton ISD. Our focus is developing the whole athlete, academically, socially, athletically, because that's key in developing the individual. And, despite the financial conundrum that all school districts are facing, we're also proud to say that we're still dedicated to pouring into our coaches. The Texas High School Coaches Association Convention, it's the biggest of its kind in the state. And we think it's such an important professional development and networking experience for our coaches. So our district still allows us to cover the registration fees and the memberships for those that attend because it's just so important to us. Probably the biggest thing that's going on right now is our community passed a $1.4 billion bond in 2023. And that bond, those tax dollars are going to work as we speak. It's allowed us to upgrade our facilities, our security, namely breaking ground on high school number 5, which should be opening in the year 2027. provide each high school, including the high school that's not yet built, a 120-yard indoor multi-purpose building for all high school campuses. All high school campuses also currently have turfed softball and baseball fields. Our facilities in Denton are amazing. And our middle schools, they all have the layered 4-lane tracks, and they all have turf fields as well. So I got to send a shout out to the community for making that happen. And probably the biggest thing is we have 2 state champion basketball teams. Geyer boys, who won in 6A Division II, and Ryan girls, who won in 5A Division I. So those are just some of the recent things going on in Denton ISD, and I'm just proud to be a part of that team.
She said billion with a B.
With a B.
Those of you who may be watching or listening, billion with a B. That is outstanding. I love that the Denton community is getting behind their athletes. I absolutely love that. And it's showing in them passing the bond.
Yes. Yes.
Not all communities get those bonds passed.
No,
right?
No, they do not. And it's not to excoriate the community, but sometimes people just aren't informed. They might think, okay, my tax rate is automatically going to go up, or if you build an indoor, it's just for football, So I think our communication to the community, getting out there, getting our coaches ahead of their community, their, where their kids go, where their fans reside, and getting the appropriate information out. That is what was key to us passing this bond, so that we got rid of all of these stereotypes or tropes that may come along with that price tag, because you think 1.4 billion, but it wasn't just all about athletics. There was, upgrades to a lot of campuses, elementary all the way through high school. Security was a big one in there. So we just appreciate the foundation that's been laid by our superintendent's office, Dr. Jamie Wilson at the time. We're now being led by Dr. Susanna Obera. But that was huge. And I was just so grateful to be a part of that. It was the first time in my professional career seeing that side of things. You hear about bonds and the importance of voting and being civically engaged. And I was thrust right into it. It was a great experience.
Outstanding. If you would like to follow Dr. Kiser, this is where you can follow her on X or Twitter, depending on how you like to refer to it. All right. So, Assistant Athletic Director in Denton ISD, but I want to go back.
Okay.
I want to go way back. So I scrubbed to the end of the internet, and I wasn't successful or find a picture of you playing high school volleyball. I was unsuccessful in that, but I really wanted to put it on the screen. So 3-sport athlete.
Yes, sir.
Volleyball.
Yes.
Track and field.
Yes, and basketball.
And a hooper. I love it. I love to
Yes.
hear it. So before I ask you my question, I want to say this. You can't deny it, because I already, you were a hooper at heart. I know it. Okay.
Yes.
Because young ladies who play both of those sports, they tend to be basketball players more than volleyball players.
Yes. That's how it started for me, because that was the first sport that I grew up watching and knew all the rules to. It was easier to have access to just, go to a park and go shoot some shots or do some 3-on-3, 5-on-5. To do that in volleyball, it's a whole ordeal. You need a gym. You need a net that's an appropriate height. You got all these rules. And it wasn't as easy to watch volleyball games back then. I was exposed to that through 6th grade PE. Honestly, if it wasn't for Diane Ferrafino and Mary Jane Petty, yes, Karen Efron, shout out to Sugarland Middle School, Fort Bend ISD. If it wasn't for those ladies, I don't think I ever would have been exposed to a volleyball. Church leagues don't count because they don't do the rules right, or, they don't even do the scoring right. And there's no in and out, and no. So, basketball was the first sport that I fell in love with. And football was actually the second. Because my dad said, if you're going to sit here and watch these games with me, you're going to learn the rules. So There we go. There's that.
So if you could go back in time
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. Kiser today, if you could talk to a young Siobhan just getting ready to touch a basketball, a volleyball for the first time, what would you say to her?
That's a good question. Well, I will say that I was very shy when I was younger. I didn't like to talk much. I was pretty much like an introvert. So I would tell her to continue onto sports because it's going to give you your voice. It's going to give you your confidence. And one day you'll be able to talk to a group of people, shake a bunch of hands with people that you don't know, let them see your authentic and extroverted self. So use sports not just as a tool for physicality and getting better at, the activity itself, but use it to be a better person and a more confident person, because it's going to happen.
You mentioned young Siobhan was an introvert.
Yes.
When, where, how did you find your voice?
It probably was 7th grade when I made my first team, which was the 7th grade B team at Sugarland Middle. I had to get out of my comfort zone because I had to learn to do a skill and activities, and I had to get involved with other people that I normally would not have. I had to make friends with people that were different than me in so many ways, experiences, etc. So it had to have been when I made my first team, and I really became myself on those bus trips when we're sitting in the back acting a fool. Then people saw that I had a sense of humor, that I had a personality, and it was just fun. We were using athletics as a tool to enjoy the camaraderie. And, I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't even know what camaraderie was. But it was at that time that I began to be who I am now. And I needed athletics to kind of bring that out of me.
So, Houston, Texas native. I
Yes.
know I am still currently sitting in the coaching seat, which means sometimes I'm sitting in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear, the back of the bus.
Best times.
Being a Houston native, you can answer this if you'd like to. Were you ever involved in any freestyle battles?
Absolutely. I can stop you right there. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was the goal. We had to rhyme about the day. I think the first rhyme I actually wrote was off of the Ghetto Boys. My mind is playing tricks on me, but it had to do with like school. Like my math is playing tricks on me, I think it was. And I don't remember how it went, but that's what we did. We were back there making albums before we get ready to play the game. Because, hey, didn't have cell phones, didn't have iTunes. We didn't have any of that. So you had to entertain yourself. And those were the best times ever. And I'm still best friends with some of those people that are, one is out there right now. Hope she's watching. Head girls basketball coach at Foster High School, Nicole Williams. She can attest to the clownery and the foolery that was going on in the back of those bus trips.
One of the things that we do is when we get on the bus, phones in the phone box, talk to each other, interact with each other.
Yes.
Kids today have no idea how
They
great
don't know
those
what they're
bus
missing.
rides were.
They don't know what they're
missing.
No.
Okay. So 3-sport athlete, in high school. How did you get to Southern?
Interesting, very interesting. And when we talk about being recruited and things of that nature, my journey, it is nothing like you see now. So I actually got recruited by the head boys basketball coach at Kempner High School because he knew the recruiting coordinator, Deborah Jackson, who's actually a coordinator at Elkins High School in Fort Bend ISD. Shout out to Deborah Jackson. They were friends somehow, and he told her about me. So that's how I ended up at Southern. I was actually getting recruited to play basketball at just at a couple of small areas. I think the biggest one was Lamar. I was kind of trying to negotiate with them, but Southern was the one that came with the money and the scholarship papers first. So, that's how I ended up there. And I went to Southern sight unseen. I had never been to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, like maybe we drove through on the way somewhere else. I had never been on campus. So my first day on campus was my first day reporting.
God bless you. As
a first generation college graduate, I will say this, and I love my parents and I love my dad, but I'm actually originally from Jersey City, New Jersey. Didn't grow up there. Parents moved me here when I was like 3. So there's still a lot of Jersey City running through my household. Okay. So my dad could not believe that people were going to pay me to go to school to play this volleyball. It wasn't football, it wasn't basketball. So I almost didn't get to go. So, we're packing up the car, he's driving me, he has to see for himself. And that's when he and Coach Danu came, best buds. But, and Coach Danu, shout out to Coach Danu, head women's volleyball coach at Southern University for like 30 years. But sight unseen. No, I would not recommend that now. We did not do that with my oldest. You're going to look at all the campuses, but
I had no intention of going to Southern. Absolutely none.
So you were trying to go against the grain.
I played baseball. I was a better baseball player than basketball player. Basketball is my first love, my baby. But I know I wasn't going to play college basketball. I didn't want to go to a JUCO. So I was going to go to UNO. I want to go to Xavier. I want to go to Xavier University. The scholarship money and the fee bill were
the math wasn't mapping. Yes.
They weren't matching.
Yeah.
So I was going to try to go to UNO. My best friend had signed to play baseball at Southern. That's how I ended up at Southern. Wow. The absolute best time of my life.
Yes.
I wouldn't trade my years at Southern for anything. So let's talk about you being a middle blocker. Dr. Kiser.
Let's do it. Yes.
Most middle blockers.
Come on, say it. Let's
tend to be, in basketball, high school girls basketball, we call it the magic number, 6 foot.
Yes.
I'm guessing Dr. Kiser's about 5'8".
On a good day.
On a good day. So, all right, I'm gonna put this together. Dr. Kiser was being recruited to play college basketball, but she ended up being a middle blocker in college. The kids today call them bunnies. Okay, tell me about Dr. Kiser, the volleyball player. I want to know about her competitive spirit.
So I've always been undersized in that position. So those of you that don't know about volleyball, the middle blocker position is kind of similar to a basketball center, okay, or maybe a good power forward as far as length. But I was always freakishly athletic. I will say I could do a lot of things. But I played angry. I played like I was undersized. And I was mad at you if you were taller than me. And that fuel, that anger is, I think, what made me a better player. It also helped that I had about a 35-inch vertical, give or take. So I wanted you to be taller than me. I wanted you to look down at me until we started competing and going back and forth with one another. Then you realized that was a problem because I wasn't going to let up. I did not like getting blocked. I did not like making mistakes, simply because the standard that I made for myself was extremely high, because I knew the challenges that I was going to face in a position. But I also knew that there were a lot of girls that played middle blocker that I like to call T4N, tall for nothing. You can have your 6 foot and your six, whatever frame, but I know your lateral movement wasn't going to be all that great. Weren't going to have a great vertical. I was going to be stronger than you because I worked with Coach Billy Long, just like you did in that strength and conditioning room. And I could squat out of my mind. I could press out of my mind. So I'm going to be stronger. I'm going to have a stronger mindset, and I'm going to jump higher than you. Now, that little 6 foot advantage that you had over me, it's no longer an advantage. We're now even. So that's the kind of attitude that I played with. And I always trained as if Coach Deneau was going to find that 6 foot middle blocker and replace me. So I always trained like there was somebody ready to take my place, and I had to show him that would be a mistake. And just that mindset and, God's blessings, I was able to, do as well as I did in that position at Southern. Now, granted, you'll have your teams, your high end, your Power 5 at the time, your elite teams. They won't look at someone my size, no matter the other intangibles that I can bring to the table, and that's fine. I want to play you too. So I just kind of went out there with a no fear attitude, high standard for myself, and a relentless work ethic. And I think that's what made me successful at that position.
Definitely made you successful. Inducted into the Southern University Sports Hall of Fame in 2023. So
Yes,
you come out of Southern University and you are a head coach at the age of 22.
Yes.
So we're building your story. We went from Siobhan as a young lady getting introduced to sports. Now you're a head coach.
Yes, sir.
Talk about that, because I think matter of fact, I know somebody who is 22 years old walking into their first head coaching job now, a former player of mine. So talk about that experience. What was that like for you?
So I have to answer that question in retrospect, because when you're in the moment, you think you're doing everything right. Like the work ethic that I had on the court is the same business work ethic that I had when I started teaching and coaching. I went back to my alma mater. So that's important to know, because I started working for women that coached me.
Yes.
My assistant freshman volleyball coach used to be my freshman basketball coach. He used to coach me. And her daughter was the setter on the volleyball team for me, So there was a lot of comfort and familiarity there. And I think that helped. But my strategy, the way that I communicated, F-. There were a lot of growing pains. Yeah. Because just because I knew the sport, that didn't mean I knew how to teach. Those are two different things. Yes. And I think you can be a wonderful, stellar athlete. And I'm not going to defame any public figures, but some of y'all watching, you know who I'm talking about. They were great professional players, but when they started coaching, it didn't work out well for them. And that's not because they don't know the game. It's not because they don't have that cachet. It's because they don't know how to teach it. Those are two different things. Mm-hmm. So I struggled not so much with the girls and, building relationships and the X's and O's. I struggled with parent communication. I didn't know how to, I was somebody that never sat the bench. So I had a hard time perceiving why somebody would want to excoriate me for not playing their daughter. Well, you don't know her skill level. Like, I'm trying to win games and she can't get us there. It's nothing personal. But when you don't have that relationship piece with the parents, and it wasn't built like I thought it was with the student athletes, you're going to stumble on some of those things. I didn't like having critical conversations. I'm not going to talk to you about playing time. It's none of your business. This is my job. I don't tell you how to parent. You don't tell me how to coach. But that was the wrong outlook. I didn't have a whole bunch of rules because I figured you guys are on the varsity level. Why aren't you serious? But I heard a quote from a podcast maybe about a year ago that really sums up what I'm thinking right now. And it was, stop looking for the you in other people. And I realized as soon as I stopped looking for my work ethic in other people, or the way that I adapted to things in other people, I became a better coach.
Yes.
Everybody's experiences are different. You know, I came from a household where you're not going to get rewarded monetarily for bringing home A's and B's. That's the expectation. You're going to get a pat on the back, good job. Okay, see you next, report card. I'm having to teach and coach individuals that get rewarded for cleaning their room, that get rewarded for passing a class. And we're not even talking about A's and B's, just passing, that are getting brand new cars at 16. So I can't expect them to have the same outlook on things as I did, because we have different experiences. And I'm definitely not passing judgment on how people raise their kids. Do you? But I had to realize, to be a good coach, to be a great coach and a classroom teacher, I can't look for my attributes to be pouring out of the kids that I coach just because I coach them. So I might have been a better coach by the time I was 30, because I'm not telling you that took a year. That took several years. And my parent handbook went from 2 pages to about 30, because it's like every year I'm adding, 5, 6 things. Oh, we're not doing this again. We're not making this mistake. And I can say by the end of my career, I was at a place with coaching and teaching where I was ready to leave it behind, because I think I had done everything I needed to do and made the impact that I needed to make on that side of things. Okay,
so that's great. I actually had that conversation with somebody today about when you're done here, you will know it.
Yes.
Okay, so talk about the transition from coach to the athletic administrative side. So there's the conversation. There's the 18 inches in basketball from the assistant coach to the head coach. Interviewed Coach Cope yesterday. He's at Lake Belton. We talked about the transition from offensive.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about the transition and the things you learned moving from the coach seat to the administrator seat.
So first, anybody who's thinking about it, if you still have a heart and a passion for being on the sidelines, you're not ready for this seat. And I don't. Again. If you are not ready to leave the sidelines, this seat will be miserable for you, because you do not have the interaction with the student athletes that you had, those types of relationships. It's a lot of business on the side. And I know a lot of people look at ADs, and I think this might be a question later, but I'll just go ahead and say it. ADs aren't just the people sitting up in the press box or going golfing every night. It's a lot of business on this side, like finances and personnel. So, there are some days that other than the people in this office, I don't see anybody else. So, you know, I have to make sure and be intentional to go build those relationships and do those types of things and support. But let's look at June right now. There's nothing going on. There's strength and conditioning camps or what have you. But I'm in here preparing to put systems in place for the fall to make things easier for our coaches then. So if you're not ready to leave that part behind, sitting in this chair will be miserable for you. I was absolutely ready because my oldest kid was getting all and he was a hurdler. He was an elite level hurdler. I was ready to be able to go around to his track meets, summer track meets, junior Olympics. Like, it was going to get to the point where I'm going to have to be missing his events because I'm having to tend to other people's kids. And I know that I was starting to have an internal thing with that. So I already had a timeline for myself that when my oldest, my goal was 7th grade, but it got to 9th grade. So it was close enough. I wanted to be removed from the sidelines and the teaching component. One of the first things people will ask you when you transition, do you miss it? Nope. And it's not that I hated it. You know, I don't want them to think that I hated my 18 years of teaching and coaching, but I don't miss the strength and conditioning, the going to the summer leagues, the grind. I had enough of that. I get my joy out of putting systems in place to help coaches help kids. That's what excites me, when they don't have to struggle to find things like I did when I was 22. Where do you find this? What's a TEA UIL side by side? What do you mean? So having those resources available for coaches where they can just really focus on their team and X's and O's and what they do in the classroom, I feel like that's my job and part of my job and part of my responsibility. So that's what I get fired up about. That's what I'm celebrating. But if that doesn't interest you, don't come over here because you're not ready for it. And that is fine. Some people are never ready for that part. They love those kids and coaching them and teaching them too much. And they'll retire with 45 years in the game. That wasn't my story. So think long and hard about the things that you want to do post coaching. Because if you can't just sit down in the bleachers and watch other people do their thing without feeling like you need to interject, you're not ready to be here.
That's good. That's good. If you coaches, if you're not ready to leave the kids, stay there. That's good. All right, let me do my commercial right here, Dr. Kiser. Let me do my little commercial. All right, listen, we're going to get back to the conversation in just a second. Here at the Coaches Co-op, we're all about building championship level systems on and off the court. We have Dr. Siobhan Kiser here with us in the co-op today. Listen, today's episode is brought to you by The Path for Coaches, Volume 1 Mentoring. Lead authors are Chip Baker and Armando Jacinto. There is a chapter written in this book by yours truly. Shameless plug, okay? I think my chapter is pretty good, but let me tell you, it is not the best chapter in the book. It's not even close. So what I need y'all to do, Amazon.com, and you can purchase your copy of The Path for Coaches, Volume 1 Mentoring. It is filled with lessons and gems. Please make sure that you purchase a copy. If you're looking to level up your team culture, fine-tune your playbook, or just stay motivated through the grind, make sure you check out The Path for Coaches, Volume 1 Mentoring. Lead authors, Chip Baker and Armando Jacinto. Once again, there is a chapter in this bestseller by yours truly, Michael Prejean. All right, let's get back to it. If you're not ready to leave the kids, coaches, then I need you to stay where you are. Those are words of wisdom from Dr. Kiser. So transition into athletic administration. So what is a typical week? So you just told us that, hey, June, not a whole lot going on. We got strength and conditioning, all of those things going on. I'm getting ready for August. So what's a typical week like in the fall versus a typical week in the spring?
So there's no such thing in this office as typical. Every day will present a different challenge or set of circumstances. Like, there's normally no athletic events on Wednesdays in the fall, for example. So that's an opportunity to, get prepared for a Thursday night football game or a Friday night football game. So, but for the sake of answering the question, there is some sort of system or, just things that we do weekly. So I'll speak on my week here. So each week for me includes a meeting with district stakeholders of some sort. So that could be the cabinet, which includes the superintendent and directors and assistant directors of various departments. So we always meet weekly. A compliance review. So I'm taking a look, and especially at the beginning of the year, making sure student athletes, everybody that is participating, is in green in rank 1. So in layman's terms, that means they've turned in all of their paperwork to show that they are eligible to participate. Same thing with coaches, because what's wonderful about the state of Texas, and I hope there are some people listening that aren't from Texas, every coach is a certified teacher. Every coach is a certified coach. And they have to go through a process of certification yearly. And that includes, CPR, first aid, just compliance things yearly to be able to coach kids. So at the beginning of the year, I'm helping athletic leaders on the campus, just kind of monitor and make sure that everybody's on the up and up. There's budget overview. Particularly at the beginning of the year, when everybody's kicking off and submitting things and buying things, we need to make sure everybody's on the same page. Event coverage, showing up at different events. We don't go to every single one, of course, because there's only, 3 or 4 of us here in this office that do that. But we do like to be visible and, support our coaches. Digital ticketing, I'm over that exclusively. And that was something that kind of started in 2020. Strategic planning, in-person phone calls and check-ins with coaches. I make sure I do that. So there's just like a variety of things that I make sure I check off weekly, but those are like the main things. And none of those things, again, to go back to what we talked about before the break, did it involve checking in with kids. So if that is something that you cannot get off your to-do list, you're not ready to be in an AD's office.
And that is typical, a typical week.
Yeah.
Air quotes for those of you who will be listening to this, air quotes around typical. Okay. If you could build a Mount Rushmore of professionals in your field, who would be on it and why?
Dave Campbell. He is the epitome of Texas high school football. And you cannot say high school football and it not be, I don't even know, because I didn't teach history, I taught English. I don't know if in Texas history classes there is a section on football. If there's not, there should be. Okay. Yes, there's the Battle of the Alamo, and then we need to, because it is ingrained in this state. And as being, from another state in this state, how important that is. He has this legendary publication, Dave Campbell's Texas High School Football. He's turned Friday Night Lights into a cultural revolution.
Yes.
So he has to be on there, and it's not just the biggest, like the 5A and the 6As. It's not the biggest classifications. It's all communities, large and small. They are represented. This might be biased, but I will say Joe Martin, who is the executive director of Texas High School Coaches Association. It used to be known just as the Football Coaches Association. But anybody who's in the state of Texas, and this is coming from someone who's a female coach, who's never coached football, that's what it was, and they know it. But this man has been so progressive, especially over the last few years, and he's been a tireless leader, him and his team, advocating for all Texas coaches. He's down there in Austin, and I say down there because relative to where I am, so Austin may be up for you, but he's down there in Austin advocating for coaches. And I think that's more important than any clinic, any conference. His influence has shaped professional development. It's shaped character education, policy support, well beyond the X's and O's. And anybody coming in here from another state, you see why this is such a serious profession. You know, this isn't just someone coaching at the YMCA. No shade to anybody coaching at the YMCA, you know, coaching kids, you keep them out of trouble. But coaching is a profession in the state of Texas. And he's been key in getting that together for the largest association in the state. Okay, I got two more.
While you're thinking, I'm going to let you think for a second.
Okay.
For your first point, a friend of mine moved his family to Texas so that his son could play football here.
Come on now.
In the state of Texas, okay?
So is that technically moving for athletic purposes?
He moved his family so his son could get a all-around education.
That part, okay.
Because the state that he was coming from actually happens to be ranked 50th in education.
And we're just going to let the people go and Google that because we don't.
Yeah. So we're not going to put any geographic location out.
No.
And then the second thing, when I first got into coaching, okay, this is my second career. I did something else for almost a decade. And the guys were like, man, you're going to coaching school? I had no idea what coaching school was, right? So then maybe my second year I went, and I lied to you not. I'm going to the basketball sessions, and there are college basketball coaches. They're doing their presentation and they're writing on overhead projectors.
Come on now.
And I was like, why would I go back to this?
Yes.
Why would I go back to this? And I didn't go for years. And then somebody was like, no, it's different now.
Yes.
It's different now. If you are in the state of Texas, you have to go to coaching school.
No matter what you coach.
No matter what you coach.
This is what I tell people all the time, especially female coaches. This ain't your daddy's Texas High School Coaches Association.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you coach, there's something for you to take away when you go there.
Yes. There is definitely something for you to take away. Okay. So I want to throw those in, to give you a little think time, little response time, little classroom strategy there.
I got another one. Okay. Dr. Charles Brydup.
Okay.
Who just retired as the executive director of the UIL, which, if you're watching this and you're not from Texas, it's the governing body for high school sports out here, which is basically our NCAA for, Texas high school and middle school sports. That's a tough job, y'all. That's a tough job. We've got in the state of Texas, the last time I checked, over 850,000 athletes. There are over 1,300, I believe, member schools. Imagine having to be in charge of that and fine arts. Let's not forget our fine arts people, the cheer, the academic decathlon, the band, theater, anything that has UIL next to it where it's a no pass, no play type of situation. That man had to oversee it. And no, everything is not going to be perfect. No, everything's not going to be to our liking. But if you go and you look from state to state, let's just use the NFL draft, for example. Mm-hmm. Where are most of these people coming from? Where are most of these people thriving? I'm not talking about what college institution they went to. These are Texas kids. And it's not that our training methods are just so over the top. It's because of the systems that we have here to protect the student athlete experience.
Yes.
It's just not a wild, wild west free for all around here where you can just go hop and play for the winning team. You know, I'm not saying some dubious things don't happen. You know, there's never going to be a 100% shooting rate for everybody, but the systems that we have in place here are in large part because of our governing body. And I just think he's just done a miraculous job. And I know he's ready to enjoy retirement, but he would definitely be on there. And then I'm going to do some history.
Okay.
L.W. Coleman. Y'all know who that is? PVIL legacy.
Yeah.
Huh? What's she
Let
talking
me,
about?
before you keep going.
Okay.
When you go to coaching school, coaches, there will be a PVIL presentation, right? So somebody's going to be there with all of those historical documents. You need to go and talk to them, right? You need to go and look at those pictures, talk to the guys who are there, get that information. Go, coach.
No, that's fine. It's fine. I was a coach a lot longer than I had this doctorate. So I actually like to go by the Duchess of Denton. Feel free to call me that too. Anyway.
Okay, you got it.
So L.W. Coleman was the leading figure in the PVIL, which is the Prairie View Interscholastic League, which was basically the UIL for Black student athletes during segregation. And it seems like it was a million years ago, but it wasn't. But we'll save all the history for another day.
Yeah.
So the PVIL kind of laid a foundation for generations of excellence when it just wasn't allowed for students of different races to come together. So that was a great foundational piece for Texas high school athletics for Black students. Before we were all the UIL, some of us had to participate in the PVIL and still had to keep it moving. So I'm going to have Mr. L.W. Coleman of the PVIL legacy on that Mount Rushmore.
Duchess, that is an outstanding Mount Rushmore. So you mentioned some pretty big names. So how did you come into contact with these people? Was it networking?
Absolutely. Okay. So I never got to meet Dave Campbell, but I've gotten to meet a lot of people that work for the Dave Campbell's Texas High School football publication and some people involved in that. And maybe that's how I ended up on that top 10. I still don't know how I ended up on there. I just do me. I don't be looking for all that, but I'm grateful. I'm humbled. Joe Martin, I met through networking, and I was able to be a part of several committees, some of them being the collaboration and communication committee. It used to be called something else, but and we helped to kind of look at things for coaching school, and how to make sure that we're including other coaches, the urban areas, the rural areas, the niche sports, the bigger sports, low classifications, higher classifications, just making sure that coaching school is comfortable and inclusive for all Texas coaches. And I was able to meet him through somebody else, and that has been paramount in my career. I can pick up the phone and ask him for anybody's number or for a reference or anything, and he'll do it. And that's just because I was put in a position through networking to have that happen. And that's how I got to meet Dr. Breithaupt. That's as top of the food chain as it gets. But I've been put in positions to, be in the ADs Association and the Texas High School Coaches Association, where people like Dr. Breithaupt are roaming free, and, to be able to have conversations with him. And I did not get to meet Mr. L.W. Coleman, but I know people that their dads have played for him or know a lot about the PVIL legacy. So that's why I was able to think about him, because of some people that I've been in contact with and networked with that educated me on the PVIL.
That's good. I'm going to read your words. These are Dr. Kiser's words. It's also about who you know and how you show up in those relationships. Every conversation, comments, or connection is an opportunity to learn, grow, and open doors, not just for yourself, but for the people coming behind you. If you want to grow in this work, you have to be willing to step out of your silo and build community, end quote. That is directly from the text of Denton. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, directly
it's the
from
truth, though. It's the truth. And when I wrote that, it was kind of a little bit of an autobiography, because that's when I started to grow as a professional, when I started to turn up the heat on my networking ability. I know it's difficult, especially for women coaches, maybe, women coaches of color, to step into spaces and places where no one looks like you. And then you automatically think you don't have anything in common. That's false. If you are in this profession, there's one thing we all have in common, and that's your love and care for kids. So that's the conversation. That's the foundation right there. All the other stuff about where you came from and how you get your first job and all, that doesn't matter. The foundational piece is everybody that's here cares about kids. So that's where you start. Let the conversation start there, and then watch how many people you really find out that you have something in common with. Because I'm going to tell all you young coaches something when you're getting your careers in order. We're all one person away from knowing somebody else. Period.
That's good. That's good.
And when I get your application, when I get your resume, and if I don't know you, there's going to be something in there where I know I can call somebody, and they're going to be able to point me in the right direction. So get your lives right.
That's it. As big as the state of Texas is, it's really about that big.
Coaching school is literally a family reunion. I see my whole coaching and teaching life flash before me every year I go there. I go to the agendas and I like to look at people, find people that I coached with. There's some people there that coached with me back in Kempner in the early 2000s. I'm going to go shake their hand and support them and let them know that I'm proud of them. And then we might tell some stories or some quick jokes about things that happened at that time. Oh, we came a long way from that bus that broke down in Belleville. Ha, ha, ha. That really did happen, though. My very first bus driving excursion, the bus broke down. We were coming back from Belleville. Yeah.
It's almost, you start to think that, is transportation doing this on purpose? My first trip, it snowed, but we're in Texas. Okay. That's another story for another day. Okay. What is the hardest thing about your current role that nobody really knows?
Probably a couple of things, but I'll say navigating through tough financial decisions that significantly impact our student athletes. You tell me I'm not getting a raise. All right. Okay. That sucks. But that doesn't affect so many kids. Finding ways to make sure that they get the things that they need under the current climate that we had been in, that's tough to be able to say, no, we can't do that this year. We got to cut these budgets down, because it's not about the coach. It dang sure ain't about me or anybody in this office. It's about those 8,000 plus student athletes that we serve. So that's been difficult. I hear we're getting a little bit of relief, and I'm grateful for that. But having to make those types of decisions that affect them, when they are the reason why I have a job, you have a job, why we're even doing this. If there's nobody going to public school, I guess I'm going to finish my album that I started in the back of the bus in the 7th grade. So I guess. And then for me, a tough challenge is providing patience and grace for those that don't necessarily deserve it. Maybe people that have forgotten their why and they need something from me, and I've got a wusa, moho yorenge kyo, all those things, naji ramba, whatever your meditation is, those people that forget their purpose, my job is to help them remember their purpose. But I have to do so with patience plus professionalism. And sometimes that's a little bit hard, because I did go to Southern for 4 years, and sometimes I think I got some avenues in me, some of that parish.
Yeah, for those of you who are familiar with Scotlandville, you will understand the avenues reference.
Yes.
You will understand the avenues reference. Okay, so what is one of the easiest things or most rewarding things about the job that nobody really knows?
One of the best things I love to do is I love to put medals on kids' necks. I love to give them or create their varsity scholar athlete awards. I love if I'm running the social media, putting something out about a kid and a parent, they repost it or they add on, just the pride and the sense of community that comes along with athletics. And it's, again, not always about X's and O's. Like, these parents, they love for their kids to be on the academic all team, and they should. Coaches that have been in this district, like Coach Long and Coach Allen, our state basketball winning coaches, have been in Denton ISD over 20 years. So to see them get their just desserts, the looks on their faces, because they've, been dedicated to their respective communities here and supportive of the things that we do here in this office, just leading with a servant's heart. Like that is the most gratifying and rewarding part about this job. So again, if you're all about self and all about the championships and the wins that you want to get and the notoriety that you want to get, and you're not fine with leading in the background and in the shadows, this is not the seat for you. Because there's a lot of things that happen in this office that are not going to be public, and you have to be okay with that. I am.
All right. Couple more things, and then we're gonna play a game of pepper. Couple more things. We're gonna play a game of pepper, and then we'll get into crunch time. Okay. Tougher job: coaching, officiating, or administrating?
Hands down, it's coaching, because it's incredibly layered. Coaches don't just manage a team, right? They're shaping lives. They're being psychologists. They're being compliance directors. Sometimes they're having to be physicians. They're navigating these high expectations, working with minimal resources sometimes, and then they're expected to lead with excellence, on top of planning lessons, grading papers, managing behavior, adhering to academic standards. Like, coaches aren't just, I would say it's either officiating or administrating if coaches could just coach and that be it. But they have to do so much more than that. So hands down, it's coaching.
I think I may retire that question now. I ask every guest that question. I get both. I know I froze on your side, and now you're frozen on my side, but I get both. I get both. I get coaches, I get officials. You are the first person that I've asked out of the three. Okay. So, and because you said hands down, because you get to see so many different aspects, I may have to retire that question. Okay. Duchess of Denton. If you weren't involved in athletics, what would you do? What would you be?
A lawyer, maybe in sports entertainment, nothing like a DA or a prosecutor, or none of that. I don't want to look at crime scene photos. I don't want to have to discern if somebody's lying to me or be responsible if they're in jail the rest of their lives. But it would be a segment of law that's got to do with, navigating through sports contracts, and I guess now the NIL. I would still be involved in sports.
I could see sports agent.
Yes.
I could definitely see that. I can definitely see that. Okay, good stuff. Okay. Humor me here. Let's play a game of pepper.
Okay.
I promise it's not scary. It won't be too hard. I got some questions here. We're going to treat it rapid fire-ish, kind of like a game of pepper. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do this. Which place shaped you more, Houston or Baton Rouge?
I don't want to be a fence straddler. It's going to have to be Houston.
Okay. Which sport taught you the most, volleyball or track?
Volleyball. Do you need a why?
Would you like to give us a why?
I can. Track is more individual based. I mean, I was on relays, and that's just about as much team as you're going to get with track. Volleyball, I mean, there can be a lot of adversity. You're dealing with a bunch of different personalities. You could have a great game and 2 other people don't. You could have a terrible game and 3 other people do. It's just, there's less constants, less fixed issues. Track, the lanes are going to stay the lanes. That 400 meters is going to be 400 meters every time. 100 meters is going to be 100 meters every time. The only thing you have to really battle against is maybe any physical elements or weather. But there's just a lot more going on in volleyball, I feel. that you have to work through.
Okay. Describe your leadership style in 3 words or less.
Personable, understanding, regimented.
Okay. Okay. Big meeting. Coffee or energy drink?
Sweet tea.
One skill every young athletic administrator needs.
Adaptability.
You got a dream lunch date with a sports legend. Who is it?
And you, okay. So I want it to be FloJo.
Okay.
But that can't happen, right? Because
we'll change the rule, dead or alive.
Okay. Well, if you can't change the rule, and you better not laugh, and y'all better stay out of my comments. John Starks.
Let me go ahead and take myself off the screen.
John Starks. Yes, formerly of the New York Knickerbockers, which at one point in time was my favorite basketball team. Yes.
If y'all need to get in the comments after that one, you can follow Dr. Kiser on X.
I will block you. There will be no John Stark slander. Not on my timeline.
_CN Kiser. Woo! I'm not laughing. What's the hardest rule to explain to non-athletes? Hardest sports rule to explain to non-athletes?
The rotation in volleyball. That's hard to explain to athletes. If you're not involved in volleyball, you don't understand that whole rotation thing and the substitutions. It is a hot mess.
Okay. All right. Last question here. Last question in our pepper. One piece of advice you wish someone had told you at the start of your career.
Focus on the communication piece to all stakeholders, not just your student athletes, but to parents, to campus administrators, anybody that can have a hand or a say in your program. Make sure you communicate with them in a way that they understand you.
Good.
Because when they want to communicate, it's too late then.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good piece of advice. All right, Dr. Kiser, this has been absolutely wonderful, but now it is crunch time, which means we're coming up upon the end of this conversation. So crunch time works this way. We go 3, 2, and 1. Okay. I'm a basketball coach. So of course the 3 stands for 3 in the key. The 2 is 2 shots, 2 of the toughest challenges or foulest things you've experienced. And you kind of shared those earlier, but I'll ask you to touch on them again. And then we will end with and 1. One thing you'd like to share or your final message. So Dr. Siobhan Kiser, also known as the Duchess of Denton, she who would love to have
self-proclaimed.
She who would have a lunch with John Starks.
No slander.
No slander. There is no slander. I'm just catching those up who may be coming in now. All right, here we go. 3 in the key. What are 3 things that all athletic professionals need to succeed?
Well, I mentioned one before when I think you asked me about new coaches or young coaches, and that's adaptability. And to add to that, emotional intelligence. That's different from just like wisdom or knowledge, like being able to have control of your emotions and read the room and just have a handle on that. And then strategic communication. Gotta have that.
I want you to touch on the strategic communication piece.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Really, so explain it to us like we're in third grade.
So people get in interviews, or coaches will come to us if they're having a problem with parents or whatever, and they say, well, I do communicate. I communicate. So I'll give you an analogy of there's communicating and then there's communicating. So let's say I'm somewhere, I'm at a store, and someone is speaking to me in Mandarin Chinese. I don't speak that, by the way. And they're talking to me. And I'm responding to them, hey, I don't speak that. I don't understand what you're saying. By definition, we're communicating, aren't we? But the message is not getting through. We're not understanding each other. So when I say strategic communication, I mean it's more than just I'm talking and you're talking and we're maybe talking at each other. It's getting to a place of understanding. And to do that, sometimes you have to be strategic. If I send you an email, I'm communicating with you, but that doesn't mean the message is being received. So I challenge all athletic professionals to take a look at how you're communicating, what method you're using. Are you listening? Because that's also part of communication. Are you listening to respond, or are you actually listening to understand? So that's what I mean by strategic communication. Really think and evaluate how your message is getting across and how you are receiving messages from others.
And that is directly connected to that EQ piece, that emotional intelligence.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for really explaining that to those of us who are listening and watching. All right, 2 shots, Dr. Kiser. You did allude to these earlier, but I will ask you to share them again. What do you have for us? 2 shots.
Well, I want to maybe switch it up so people don't think that I'm out here just scripted.
Okay.
Some foul things that I've experienced in my current role. Having a middle school coach try to explain or justify beating another team by 80 points. Middle school. Now, in a basketball game. And just the level of audacity that came along with this faux explanation on demoralizing kids in public and celebrating it, taking a picture, putting it on social media. Why? What did you gain from that? What lessons did you teach your student athletes? What was the purpose of that? And so I just thought that was definitely foul. And part of being in my position is going back to that other challenge I talked about with this similar question, exercising patience and grace for somebody who tries to justify something like that. We're talking middle school, where we encourage them to play all the things, and we're trying to teach them about the social learning piece and all that. And you beat them by 80 on purpose. You're still pressing and still shooting threes. Foul ball.
Definitely. Yeah. We don't ever, young coaches, we don't ever want to embarrass kids. We know you go to practice. We know your kids show up in practice every day. We know that. We know that. We know you want your kids to play hard, but we don't ever want to embarrass other kids. Dr. Kiser, this has been outstanding.
Well, I thank you. This is some serious business you have up here. Like, I'm so happy to be a part of this. This is amazing.
I am so happy that you are here. You have no idea. Okay, Dr. Kiser, this brings us to N1. One thing you would like to share before we get out of here today.
So I'll say that having a title doesn't make you a leader. So I really want to send this out to, because I've just been speaking to a lot of coaches lately that are looking to be head coaches or people looking to be ADs. And what I'm going to tell you is it's your actions, it's your integrity, it's your ability to influence, your ability to inspire others. That is what makes you a leader. Not having athletic director or head coach or offensive coordinator, who you are and letting the work be the work. That's what makes you a leader. And leadership is not earned through a title. It's earned through trust. It's earned through consistency, the way you show up for yourself, the way you show up for other people. All these letters and stuff that I have beside my name, I was already that person before I got those. Those just made it official. But titles don't make you a leader. Who you are makes yourself a leader.
Dr. Siobhan Kiser, once again, please go and follow Dr. Kiser on X at Dr._CN Kiser. Dr. Kiser, I'm going to get us out of here, but hang back with me just for a second after I close us out. Listen, everybody, thank you for joining us here on the Coaches Co-op. Big thanks to today's guest, Dr. Siobhan Kiser, for sharing her journey and her wisdom. If you are walking away with new insight, new energy for your team, then we did our job. Hit the like button, follow, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. You can find us on IG at actually, I don't even know what my new IG is. I changed it. What is it? Oh, here it is. It's podcast_with_Prejean. This has been the Coaches Co-op. For Dr. Siobhan Kiser, I'm Michael Prejean, better known as Coach P. And remember, here in the Coaches Co-op, coaches do what most people can't. Until next time, y'all be easy.